Hey, welcome along to a rainy Tuesday evening. Don't know what it's like where you are. If you're in Brisbane, it's probably raining at the moment. Depends. I guess given today, it depends on how long a delay there is between what I'm saying and you, because I'd have stopped by the time, minute and a half that you're behind me or whatever. But welcome along. Rainy evening. We join together, as always, to stop and remember and talk about things to do with ministry with young people, families, children, all those sorts of things. So welcome along. Good to have you join us. If you're a regular, good to have you here. If you're new, I'm Richard Moores, Children's Youth and Families Pastor for Southside Uniting Church. Southside meets on land that the Yagara and the Turrbal people were traditional custodians of, and so we continue to pay our respects to elders past, present and emerging. So, no one got our movie quote from last week, so each week we have a movie quote, and if you can guess the movie quote, you get a prize. I think I still owe Rod one, I still owe Pete Choi one. So last week was something along the lines of, what beautiful music, the sound of the children of the night, which wasn't Cats, wasn't, I think Phantom has a line out of it, Children of the Night, was from Dracula in the 1930s, so, gee, none of you are old enough to know that one. I know, a very long time ago. Tricky, but I thought maybe the Children of the Night would spark things. I forgot to do it. I was going to do it at the end, going, what a beautiful noise, the Children of the Night. But that was a very bad Dracula. I want to talk about, the Children of the Night. I'm not getting the Dracula accent today, am I? Anyway, so we've got to have a new quote. So a new quote for today is, "You can call me, oh Captain, my Captain." What movie does that come from? I'll be sparking some thoughts from you. Or just, oh Captain, my Captain. Oh Captain, my Captain. What movie? It's the tip of your tongue, isn't it? It's not your tongue. Tip of your head, tip of your tongue, all those sorts of things. So, had some people during the week, and Dave Allen a couple of weeks ago say, discuss a bit more about mentoring. So we had an info session about mentoring. What's mentoring all about? So I thought we'd just spend a bit of time. Got to, again, still busy week. Try and put together a video to go on YouTube about from our mentoring training. But here's some things. Oh, Kylie's got it. From Dead Poets Society. Yep. That movie, because I think that movie shows us some, mentoring, some working alongside the boys, encouraging them to be who they can be, not just stick within the rigours of the educational institution that they find themselves on. That's right, it is Robin Williams. Very good, Rod. Kylie's got a number 2 star, but Rod's got a number 3 star. Who knows what that means? And so, Robin Williams' character in it, his name's gone out of my head, Keaton. I hope that comes up as my one of my options for when I put it up on YouTube. Anyway, so in that, Mr. Keaton encourages them to be themselves, to explore, to go off and read poetry and think about what that means. He encourages one of the boys to go and act. Even though your father, is going to be grumpy about this, just go and do it. And your father will understand, of course. Father doesn't understand, and Neil ends up committing suicide. Mr. Keaton is chucked out of the school, and as he goes to gather his things at the end, the boys in the class, even the one who, has stuttered and has struggled to vocalise himself, he's the first one to stand up on his desk as Mr. Keaton leaves the room and go, "Oh, Captain, my Captain," and all the boys stand up as the new teacher is trying to desperately take control. But that sense of, here is someone who has walked alongside these kids. Here's someone who said, be yourself. Let me release you to be you. We're not just in the cookie cutter mode. And that's The move that we're seeing out change in the educational institutions is that moving away from the cookie cutter. So in the sense, educational institutions really solidified how they did things back in the Industrial Revolution, where we just needed to train people who could then work in a factory and just chuck stuff out. But here was someone going, okay, that doesn't work. We need to allow you and help you to be you, boys. How do we help you to be you? How do we help you to experience life the way that you need to experience life? That's what mentoring is about. So mentoring is not going in going, we have this thing that we want you to be. We want you to be a Christian. And as a Christian, you will do this, 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 and this. You know, when you leave us, you will have been convinced that you will be either a doctor or a nurse. Not a doctor or a nurse. A teacher or a nurse, the good Christian professions, or a minister, obviously. We won't have convinced you that you have to do this, but we'll have walked alongside you. Again, we talked about last week, how do we help young people to find their thing? That it's not about we're finding our thing, but we're helping you to find your thing. And so, mentor. A mentor is someone that the young people can look up to. So hopefully you're setting a good example. You're a role model that they look up to, that they go, this is someone that I want to be like. This is someone that I'm impressed with. It's not just, anybody in the church. This is someone that I see and want to be like. Not I want to be like exactly like them and do every decision, but here's someone that I can look up to and, getting distracted by the mess on my desk. Look up to. It's someone who listens. It's a key part of being a mentor is listening. You are there to hear the story and the place where the young person is at. And so just what's going on? What's happened between now and the last time we met? So we're going to encourage our mentors to meet probably once a month. Recommend about an hour once a month. And just to talk through things. Of course, you say about an hour, because if you're really into a conversation, you don't go, hour's up. We're not a professional psychologist or something who goes, no, time's up, sorry. You'll have to hold on to that big issue that we're struggling with till next month. It's about an hour. And sometimes you've spent 45 minutes and you go, well, I think we've talked it all through. So we'll just call it a day then. But yeah, that deliberate time, once a month. So a big part is catching up what's been happening. And as you hear what's been happening, you'll start to hear what are the key things for this young person. So it might be, I'm starting to hear a pattern of struggles at school. So how do I walk alongside this young person and help them with their schoolwork? Might be their thing. Or how do I point them to some people who can help them with their schoolwork? So it might not be you, but you might go, hey, we've got some teachers and some ex-teachers in the church. Can point to one of them, might be able to do some tutoring with you or something like that and just help you with this thing that you're struggling with. Just opens that door. It might be you keep hearing about some struggles with friends and you go, okay, we need to work through some issues around friendship relationships and intricacies of those. You might pick up bullying. So how do we help to build some resilience? How do we help you to report what is going on to you and get you the help that you need, because you don't and you shouldn't be bullied. So it's about that listening. So it's important. What's been happening? Where are you at? So that we can then dive in and deal with those. So don't necessarily come along with your agenda of, we're up to week 6, so we're dealing with this issue. Each young person is different and unique, and so we need to be fitting in with that and hearing that and connecting with that young person where they're at. So a lot of listening. It's about, and as we listen, we don't just come with answers. And so I think one of the stresses that we might feel, and one of the reasons I suspect some people might go, oh, I can't be a mentor, is, oh, I think I don't have the answers. I don't know everything. We don't want you to know everything. In fact, it's good if you know that you don't know everything, because then you're willing to learn, and you're willing to listen, and you're willing to hear. And so, yeah, one book I've read, I can't remember which one it was, but talks about young people often don't come and ask questions to get answers. They ask questions to find people who are willing to ask along with them. So we want some mentors who are willing to just ask questions alongside the other people, alongside the young person. So puzzle. So an example of that is one of the young people I was mentoring back in Belmont. At one stage, as we were going on our mentoring journey, Rob Bell brought out his book, Love Wins, which talks about relooking at what is heaven and hell and how that whole thing might work. And of course, blew up all sorts of controversy within the conservative arm of the church. And there were a number of books written about how he was wrong and all these sorts of things. So the young person I was mentoring and I probably paid for both, but we got a copy of Rob Bell's book and we got a copy of I think it was Francis Chan's reaction to Rob Bell's book. And so we read them both and swapped and read and then discussed, what does this mean? How do we see? Where do we agree with Rob Bell? Where might we disagree with Rob Bell? And so that wondering together and that exploring together, that, we didn't need to have the answers, but we could sit there and bounce off each other and go, well, let's explore this new idea, this new concept that seems to be out there. What does it mean? And so, that allowing space to explore, to wonder, to question. And so part of it might be working through some Bible readings. So a number of us, the ministry team and some others, have been doing a thing out of Crossway Baptist in Melbourne called BDC, Building a Discipleship Culture, and they use what they call the Discovery Bible Method, which encourages people to find someone to read the Bible with, and then just read the Bible and read it through twice, particularly try and find two different translations, and then someone, without looking at the passage, summarizes the passage. The other people can then add any bits they might have missed. And then look at, what does the passage say about God? What does the passage say about humans? And what might we take out of that passage? I think they're the ones. Might be wrong, but I think they're the key things. So you can do that with a young person. Or you might want to take the questions that we use in the faith resources. What stands out to you from the reading? I wonder what stands out from your reading. I wonder what's most important for you in that reading. I wonder if it raises any questions. Take those three questions, and anyone can answer those. And when you start with the I wonder, it's not what is the most important. It's I wonder what's the most important to you. And we can all have our view on that. There's no right, there's no wrong. We're just allowing that space for that young person to go, I wonder if what really is important to me about that is God's love. Yeah, it is. Wow, I hadn't picked that up. That's not what's important to me about that, but yeah, that's in there. And so on and so forth. Another version I've heard, I'm not going to remember them, but yeah, that sense of what does it say about God? What questions does it raise? What do I need to do about it? You can just do things like that. Some simple questions that you can open up any passage of the Bible, read together and just go, well, what might the Bible be saying to us? And you don't need a theological degree to answer those questions, and to explore. And as you both explore, you're allowing space for them to learn from you, but you to learn from them. So they might go, I see this part, and it's like, wow. We sometimes use some of these questions in the evening service, and it'll be like, wow, that's not what I got out of the passage, which is a real pain because I've just planned the whole rest of the evening around what I got out of it, and you've got something different out of it. So that must be wrong. No. It's like, cool, I'm learning from you because I had not thought of that angle. Wow, cool. So yeah, finding ways in the mentoring relationships to allow that space to be amazed, allow that space to just explore and to ask questions together is important. So mentoring is listening. Mentoring is exploring together. And mentoring is doing life together. So we talked a bit about this last week, I think, and particularly. So we had an information session a few weeks ago now, how time flies. And Paul MacDonald was saying, one of the key people in his growing up was his dad. And his dad taught him about fixing cars. And they would spend time fixing cars together. And so how are we finding those things that we share in common with the young people and doing them together? I think I've mentioned before, when I stop and, sometimes you're at trainings and they talk about, who was the influential person in your growing up? And the person I think of is Pete, who was one of our youth group leaders, was our Bible study leader for a number of years. And he would take us to places. And a couple of my friends were really into golf, so he'd take us and we'd go play golf. I don't know if you like golf or not. I hated golf. Wasted a good walk. I think golf would be fine if you had someone who went around and said, hey, your ball's over here, rather than you trying to have to go hunting and going, where on it? Which tree did I hit it behind? Probably reflects my skill at golf. But just finding those things that, hey, you guys are into golf? Let's go and play golf. Much better the time he took us down to sort of 2 towns along and we went and played laser tag. Now, that was fun. Let's go and play laser tag. I'll do that. But those things where we just do life together. It might be, you have a role at the garage sale and you go, hey, my person I'm mentoring, I'm going to bring along and we're going to work on this together. Because as we do those things together, they get to see us. You get to see the real person. And so the person I was talking about before that I was mentoring, we had a carnival that happened each October at Belmont, just one Saturday in October. And there was one time and we had to go and probably buy some prizes from the shops or something. We had to go and get something. And I drove back and I accidentally went too close to a car that I was trying to park near and scraped it. And so you got to see the reaction of how Richard dealt with that. Might have been some words that probably Richard shouldn't have said. But that sense of you do life and, when there's a tough time, Richard swore. Okay. I'm not perfect. I'm not, an angel. And so as we do life, if the young person is sitting there for 3 hours at the garage sale, doing stuff with you, if you're getting there Thursday night to help you set up and move things around, they see you. They see what you're really like and you're role modeling for them. And you can role model how you deal with stress, how you lead. And that's really important. So it's that, how do we do life together? How do we go places? How do we experience events so that we're actually doing life together and you're seeing the real me and I can role model for you. I don't have to put it into words, but I can do that. Linked with that, key with that, sure, I've said this before, back in Belmont, a number of times did a program with Youth for Christ in the high school with Year 9 or Year 10 boys called No Limits. Changed its name, and I can't remember what it changed its name to. But it was, taking some of the sort of troubled kids who had leadership potential and working with them. So we'd meet for like 2 hours once a week during school. So they'd miss sort of 2 classes and come in with us, and then we'd take them away for one day for an adventure type activities, team building type stuff. And one of the key things that Youth Christ uses in that, and in a number of their others, is the phrase, an unreflected experience is a missed experience. And so we would play a game. So one of the activities that you did in that was you'd have a big tarp, everyone stand on the tarp. Now you've got to turn the tarp over without anyone stepping off the tarp. So you can move around the tarp, but no one can step on the ground around it, and you've got to flip the tarp over. And so you do that, and then you sit down and go, well, what happened in that? What did we learn from that? What can we see happening there? Who was taking lead? Who wasn't? Did it work when you didn't work together? Did it work when you started to communicate well? What? And so you just sit there and you go. So if you're working with your young person at the garage sale or whatever, the next time you meet, and try and meet sort of fairly soon afterwards, let's review how that went. What happened? What was the outcome? What did we see taking place? And yeah, it's what did we learn? It's that reflecting and learning that if we don't do that, then we miss so much. But if we stop and help the young person to go and to build that habit of, I do something and I reflect on it. I do something and I reflect on it. A challenge that the church really needs to grow and learn. We do stuff. How often do we evaluate it? We just go, oh, that was nice. Tick. Let's move on. How do we stop and we go, okay, we did this. What did we learn? What went well? What didn't go well? What learnings do we have? So that if we do it again next time, we do it better. So we have, after Fun and Sunday, we had a review meeting. What does that mean? What did we learn? What can we do better next year that will help us to do, to keep building on this? So that mentoring, we walk alongside them in life, but we help them to reflect on those walking alongsides. What do we learn from those experiences? So we want, as we mentor, to listen to where they're at and to respond to where they're at. We want to explore together, to ask questions. Particularly that might be about the Bible. Because this is not just about mentoring. So it's not, I want to mentor someone, I'm good at the sound desk, so I'm going to mentor someone to be able to use the sound desk and to do sound stuff. Or you can imagine Derek Griffin mentoring someone in how he live streams the service. And we teach someone in those sorts of things. And that's great, but we don't want to just pass on a skill. We want to delve into the whole of life and particularly into faith. We want to be giving them some spiritual mentors, which again is not, you've got all the answers. No, because we don't. We talked ages ago, Dietrich Bonhoeffer, taking a passage from Mark as his passage to speak at preach on at a confirmation service, and saying to the young people who are being confirmed, this is a marker in your faith, but this is not a marker that you are there, because none of us are there. And in fact, the only faith that we have is the faith that God gives us for today. And every day we wake up, and like the father who brings his son to Jesus and asks him to heal, we say, Lord, I believe, help me in my unbelief. And so as mentors, we come not as, I can tick it off, I understand it all. We come with people who are going, Lord, I believe, help me in my unbelief. And help me in my unbelief to share some belief with this young person. So we want people who are learning, listening. We want people who are willing to explore and ask questions together. Exploring the Bible, exploring other things, exploring stuff about life and faith and things they're going through. And we want people who will do life with our young people, who will stop and just spend time with them and reflect on those times. Not just do life tick, but do life and, reflect on it, grow from it, help the young person to grow from it. If we're doing those things, then we will build. So one of the reasons for doing mentoring, and this is not the key reason for doing mentoring, one of the reasons for doing mentoring is that the research shows that if a young person has 3 or 4 significant adults who have a significant relationship with them within the church outside of their family, then they're more likely to stay within the faith. Now, we want our young people to stay in the faith, so we want things like this that are markers towards keeping them in. We want to do mentoring. The key reason is that our young people are important. Our young people are the creation of God, the children of God. And so we want them to understand that. We want to treat them as those beloved people that we want to protect and we want to nurture and we want to grow. That's the key. It's not about, hey, how do we keep them in the church so that we keep the institution going? But it's how do we nurture this young person so that they have a lifelong faith? How do we respect the person that God has made them to be? Sounds like a good sermon, doesn't it? Preach it, brother. Oh, amen. Do you know my king? Sorry, just quoting something from the evening service. If you weren't at the evening service, you've missed out on the reference. So may we be willing to explore and get alongside our young people, that their lives might be changed, that they see our example and they learn from it, the good and the bad that it comes from with us. And yes, when I watch Dead Poets Society, I'm probably guaranteed to be crying at the end. Even more so since I became a youth worker, because it's like, what if as you walked away from a church, your young people said that, and they stood up and said, hang on, my captain, you've made a difference in my life. That is what we want to do with our young people. That might have answered people's questions about what is mentoring. That might have raised a whole heap of other questions, which is good. Keep firing questions at me. Pop them in the chat box. Ask me when you see me. Email me. Call me. Text me. WhatsApp me. Pop it on my Instagram. Facebook message me. Whatever. It's good to hear from you what you're asking. As always, it's good to be talking about the things that are relevant for you. This is why, as mentoring, we want to be listening, because we want to be talking about the things that are relevant for the young person. I need to let you go on with the rest of your day. Thanks for tuning in. Thanks for those who tune in another time. If I don't see you over the rest of the week and the weekend, we'll see you again next Tuesday. Bye, everyone.